Hi, everybody, and welcome to this wonderful episode of The Best Games Period. The, the podcast fit to make you go, this is a best game period.
What?
Or not.
Oh. Sorry, I'll stop being annoying now. Actually, no guarantees on that.
Oh, gosh. I think our entire podcast is is predicated on us being annoying. So
no, it's definitely podcast now.
Podcast. I don't know why I can't talk today. I just can't do it.
Podcast.
This is episode 122. And if you're picking up, it's the podcast right after our Mario Party episodes. So you should totally go check that out. Is Mario Party one of the best games, period?
We don't even know.
I don't know. Naomi doesn't know. And I don't think our listeners know either, because we never did a poll. So deal with it. And I am your host, Jack Gardner, and with me is the
insufferable.
No, you're entirely the very sufferable. The very sufferable.
You can suffer through me, guys. Don't worry.
Oh gosh. I don't know why people put up with us.
Maybe I had too much caffeine.
We live in a game that has world news. What is some of the news that is affecting world? And by
Kanye
world, I mean
West
game.
wants to talk to Hideo Kojima, and that could have horrible ramifications if storytelling has told me anything. So, I
think Hideo Kojima is just gonna dodge Kanye West.
Oh yeah, he's
for as long as possible.
Like instead of reaching back out to Kanye through Twitter, Hideo Kojima was later seen with kittens via like his friend's Twitter, which is like an amazing move. And Jeff Keighley, I get that you and Hideo Kojima are like BFFs forever, but are you really getting in the middle of this right now? I don't know if you saw that tweet, but
I don't know what you're talking about.
So Kanye tweeted out to Hideo Kojima like, "Hey, I'm in New York. Let's talk." And frickin' Jeff Keighley was like, "I got you," or something like that. And yeah,
no,
it's just you like it just their bromance. I'm totally for it. And I hate the term bromance, but like these two are definitely like the epitome of that. But
no. Jeff Keighley doesn't have anything on Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
That is the true. I wouldn't even say bromance. It's just a romance at this point.
Yeah. Mads and the dude who plays Daryl.
Yeah, I don't know what his actor name is either.
I don't know either. Dude who plays Daryl, and probably dude who is that one guy in the video game.
And dude who probably has a lot of other acting roles that we don't know about.
I even have like a picture with him. I mean, his likeness, not the actual him, on my Instagram, and I don't even know his name. That's funny. Anyway, it's just kind of desperate, Jeff. So it's kind of icky for you to just be like, hey, I know him. So, yeah.
I'm not surprised, though.
No, I'm 100% not surprised, but that was just like, oh, no moment. So, I mean, but that did kind of spur a genuine conversation, because I don't know, around that time, Kanye admitted to being off his meds and saying that he needed to be off his meds in order to, create his art. So that spurred a conversation about how people were treating this obviously mentally ill person, be it, yeah, he's a volatile celebrity, but there's still some negative treatment due to the stigma around medication. So that was definitely an interesting conversation. And I mean, the fact that he put out there that being off his meds was the only way he could create art was a dangerous notion for sure, because as someone who does take meds to function daily, I know that I understand his point, and it's one that a less mature me had gone through before, but now I just know that a day without my medication is not a fun day. And him saying that, as much of a beacon he is, it can be very damaging to vulnerable people. So
yeah. Take your meds, people.
Yeah.
Please. Anyway. I don't have much to add to that, other than the fact that when he tweeted that out, I had a mental image in my head that it just so happened like Hideo Kojima was like 10 feet behind him in like a subway station, and his phone suddenly blew up with tweets, and he looked at it and then noticed that Kanye was in front of him, and like
Kanye's like peeking around the corner.
no, and like he hid behind like a potted. He hid behind like a potted plant that wasn't big enough to conceal his actual location.
This is turning into Looney Tunes fiascos.
I mean, that's basically what I was imagining in my head. Yeah, so that happened. Also, if you're listening to this, Subnautica is free over on the Epic Games launcher. So if you just open up the Epic Games launcher or download it for free, you can just download Subnautica.
Subnautica's pretty, so you should play it.
It's actually pretty fun. I started playing it a little bit just to kind of get an idea of what this thing was that I'd been hearing about for a while. But also, going forward, apparently, Epic Games is going to be releasing a free game through their launcher every 2 weeks, and the next one is Super Meat Boy, which we've talked about on this show before. So, and they're going to be doing that for all of 2019. So, yeah, you should probably download the Epic Games launcher and get a bunch of free games, because
free.
Yeah,
and they're good games. So
far, yeah.
Yeah.
And there are going to be 25 of them, 26 of them.
You did the math.
I'm proud. I did. I crunched the numbers.
Whoa. So, yeah, what have you been playing?
A little bit of Subnautica, a little spurts of Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
I'm terrible at that game.
I'm okay.
I'm terrible. And I'm okay with that. I know that with practice comes perfect, but
I will say that the Spirit board is a bunch of BS garbage.
I forgot about the Spirit board. It reminds me of the oh my gosh, Spear Grid or whatever from Final Fantasy X specifically. Really? Yeah, it's kind of flat like that, and then oh god, yeah. That's all I want to delve into my memory for.
Okay. It's kind of flat. Got it. There was also a piece of news that I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on, if I could.
Yep.
So, sorry, I just lost my train of thought real quick.
Well, you better go catch it.
So one of the big things that happened over the weekend was Kingdom Hearts 3 escaping into the wild.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, even Tetsuya Nomura himself stepped in to address it and was like, "Hey, don't share videos of Kingdom Hearts 3, please." Probably because he's been working on it for like 15 years.
All right, I'm trying to find a tweet. Basically, one of the former podcasters from What's Good Games, amazing ladies, by the way, She is an expert in Kingdom Hearts. She even wrote a book about it, and her tweet perfectly sums up how I feel. She basically said that the community not caring about the Kingdom Hearts leaks because no one would understand how that meshes into the story anyway. And that gave her life. That pretty much sums up how I feel about like the actual leaking of story. I thought that was hilarious. But I mean, it's an issue that comes up every single major game release pretty much, is that people get their hands on early releases or they leak it because we live in an economy where the quickest information, I mean, people are going to click on it and that's going to make some money, so people are going to do it. But I mean, I generally, no, not generally, I mean, I never really partake in that kind of stuff. Not to be altruistic or anything like that, just like, there's enough game content in my world where I don't need to jump the gun and look at some early footage or whatnot of a game that's coming out in a month. When I still haven't beat Red Dead, you know, like, that's me personally, but I totally understand that it's a huge problem and it undermines a lot of what these developers are trying to do and these storytellers are trying to do, and it's really disheartening for them. So, I mean, I totally think it's bad, but at the same time, I live in the real world and I know that that's gonna happen, and we need to come up with a system to take it on and differently.
Yeah, and I think that would require sweeping changes to the internet in general.
And that's not going to happen anytime soon, so...
And the way, like, things are monetized.
Yeah.
So, and as it stands right now, like, there's no incentive. I mean, Twitch or YouTube are probably not going to step in to handle that stuff. I mean, they could, but it's still not going to stop those clips from being shared,
no,
I guess.
People are going to get their hands on that stuff no matter what.
What bothers me more are the people who watch and then share, like, secondhand clips of games and spoilers and stuff.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, I get the first person who gets their hands on Kingdom Hearts 3 and is like, holy crap, yeah, I'm going to stream this. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, because I get it. They want to make their money. They want to grow their channel. I get it. We live in a competitive society. Like, I don't necessarily fault them. I mean, I don't agree with what they're doing, but I understand why.
It's the people who secondhand, like, take that content and are like, look at this clip. And I like that.
It's skeezy.
It's skeezy, and it's also an attempt to capitalize on the scarcity of that content by increasing their social capital, which is a different beast from normal capital, which is what streamers and such are doing with it. Where you get it, you just don't agree with it. I get it on this one, on social capital, but I see it as less necessary, and you're probably growing a kind of social capital you don't want. And don't, just be respectful, I guess. Like, I don't have as much of a problem with things that aren't, if you have something that isn't focused on narrative, I'm more comfortable with that leaking early. Like, when Super Smash Brothers Ultimate leaked, I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. We know what Super Smash Brothers is.
Yeah, like when I saw screen caps, it's just prettier Smash Bros with more characters. Like, yeah, that's what I thought it was gonna be. But yeah,
with Kingdom Hearts, it's a little different because you have a whole storyline that, granted, is comprehensible
yep.
to the layperson. I recently, for example, found out that one of the characters, actually several of the characters, are the same character, just time traveled.
Yep.
And that was upsetting to me on a storytelling level. I am probably not going to play Kingdom Hearts 3. I have no real investment or emotional attachment to the series, other than the fact that Tetsuya Nomura made Final Fantasy VI, and that game's great.
Yeah, and I played it at E3, and I wasn't too impressed. And right now I don't have a PlayStation, so So, that's
right.
probably more of my attitude towards it, is I don't really... It's not my jam, so I'm not as heartbroken, but, like, I guess I'll try to think of, like, if Death Stranding had a leak. Death Stranding's 100 years away, so it's different. So let's say that we already know what the game's about, and...
Well, it's about babies.
Obviously. But, like, we get a pretty big story note, and that kind of spoils, a big reveal. That's definitely upsetting. Like,
look at you applying the golden rule.
I'm trying to be a good person, okay? Well, no, because it's definitely... It's hard to understand how a dedicated fan base can feel so entirely attached when it's not your fan base, Like, I guess if I saw something that was leaked in Pokemon... No, bad example, too, because, everyone knows what happens. I don't know, it... I understand.
When it's a story.
Yeah. And I haven't seen the leak, so I don't know specifically what was leaked. So I don't really understand the full scope of it, I guess.
As far as I know, like, some full copies of the game got out early.
Oh, damn. That's a pretty big leak.
I think some people actually finished the game, and, like, some scenes from the ending are going around.
Oh, man. See, that's upsetting.
Yeah.
I definitely get that. Don't do that. That's just a D move.
It is a D move. A real D move.
Like D-pad, not like the other thing.
Look at you.
Yeah. I'm so clever. So yeah. Don't do it, people.
Yeah, just don't. Why not sit back, relax, and cook.
Enjoy the mountain of games that have already come out.
Cook a digital meal, for example.
Oh, snap.
This week we're talking about Overcooked.
As I ruin your segue there.
A game about cooking and friendship
and a ton of
enemies.
Frustration.
I don't know anything about it, so you're gonna have to tell me why you nominated Overcooked.
So you haven't played Overcooked at all?
I have played like 4 matches of Overcooked, if you count Overcooked 2 as Overcooked.
They undergo the same premise, but obviously Overcooked 2 has its own mechanics and whatnot.
It's
but
twice
you get
as Overcooked.
It's burnt to a crisp. Okay, so then I'll start with a question for you, and that is,
Shoot.
How did you play? Did you play multiplayer, single player? How'd you do it?
It was competitively.
Okay.
Co-op competitively.
So you were on a team with someone against another team of people.
Exactly.
Got it. So how did you like the dynamic of playing with your teammate?
Honestly, it was not under ideal conditions, so I don't know that it is.
We're so technical here. It sounds like I'm like grilling you for a trial.
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily super helpful for anyone. I was on the Game Informer Extra Life live stream this year.
Oh, so you guys can go watch that.
Please don't. I mean, do, but don't specifically seek it out for Overcooked content. Mostly because I have bad eyesight, and we were sitting a little ways away from the TV, and my bad eye was having to look at that section of the TV, so I couldn't see what I was supposed to be making, and I'm pretty sure the first the first round, I didn't make. We didn't successfully make any dishes.
Okay.
The second round we made 3, so an improvement.
Yes, you progressed. All right, so then the mechanics were definitely a frustration for you.
I don't know if they were frustrating. I just didn't know what they were.
All right, that's fair. All right, so I guess to go back,
like I
to
said
the beginning.
before we started recording this episode, I'm not going to be a very big help to you at all.
I know, but I'm using you as kind of a control point for
great.
people who have never played. No pressure. So to go back to what Overcooked is, it's a game that came out in 2016, and it is, I mean, you can play it single player, but it is meant to be played with at least one other person, co-op. And I don't remember actually if it's only couch co-op. I know there's games out there that exist that are like that.
I don't think it is. I think a couple of our acquaintances played long distance together.
Okay, so yeah, so you can play this with people across the globe if you'd like. But basically, you are working on a team with at least one. Well, like I said, can be single player, but you are working on a team generally to create meals under high pressure circumstances. So, one of the meals that you can make are hamburgers. So, in order to make the hamburgers, you have to slice the bread, get a plate, cook the meat, chop the lettuce, chop the whatever. So the game builds itself off of that premise of building these multiple building blocks for the food, and it builds up the intensity and complexity around that. So you get recipes at the top of the screen, and some people might want cheeseburgers, or they might not want tomato. And those tiny little things add up in your brain because oftentimes there are environmental obstacles that are extremely frustrating. Like, you might be completely isolated from your other player, or you might be on a freaking iceberg trying to cook your food and just slipping into the ice. You might be on a moving truck and your stove just drove away. So it has varying degrees of difficulty, and that's honestly what makes it really fun, is just the dynamicness of it. But I just wanted to give you guys a taste of what this game entails. And the way
is there a story to speak of, by the way?
Well, yeah,
or is
I was
it just
actually
like
just gonna say that.
Series of challenges. Okay.
So it's built like Mario style, where you have different levels, and then they build up to kind of that last kind of boss level. And there is a story in the first game, and it's a little ridiculous, of course. And I think you're beating like a giant onion boss, and you go back in time, and you are building up your cooking skills to be able to take on this giant beast, because the only way you can beat him is by cooking food really, really well.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. And so along the way, you unlock various characters. As you progress, the levels get more difficult, and there's different types of environments, different recipes. It's kind of like a standard progression. But there's just something about this game that makes it entirely unique from other games, I think. And that's kind of what I want to isolate in this episode, is finding out what makes this game stand out to people. Because it's not just me. This game was kind of an indie darling when it came out, and so much so that they made a second one. And, you know, people love that too. And it's ridiculous and difficult AF, but it is still charming and endearing enough where you want to beat it. I'll bring up Cuphead. Cuphead is charming and beautiful, but I don't want to beat that sucker.
Oh, you better not tell that to Marcus.
Oh, I already did. He knows.
But I bet he's very disappointed in you.
Oh yes, because Marcus is so mean. and
the meanest.
unforgiving. Marcus, I hope you're listening. You are so mean and so unforgiving, and you hate wrestling. I don't understand why. Anyway.
Gosh, I think you just gave him like a nervous tip from across the country.
I'm gonna send him a message right now. But yeah, so this game, it just has a certain specialness that I believe is based in its ridiculousness, because the art style is just like adorable. Your little characters just have little bobbing bodies, just boop 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 boop, and the worlds around you are ridiculous. Like I said, like you're on an iceberg for some reason, frying up fish and chips. You know, you can be a little, you can be a kitten, you can be humanoids, you can be a raccoon in a wheelchair. It's just adorable. So obviously that part of it makes it a little bit more special, but the kind of forced co-opness, I think, also drives that. Because if you can play single player, but they don't make it easy on you at all. I didn't play single player myself. Actually, my partner's sister did, and she's kind of got like amazing skills single player for some reason. But you have to like basically train your brain to use 2 different control sets to control your 2 different characters. Okay. Which sounds absolutely horrendous to me. But still kind of cool. Like,
you're not like a left brain, right brain person.
No.
Independent.
Like my eyes don't just like go different directions if I need them to. No. But I get it. Like, some people are just wired that way, and they're just more inclined to be able to do that kind of control system. But people like me are only gonna play this game 2-player, and you just build this camaraderie when you play, you know, co-op games. And I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. There's this specialness that comes with trying to be there for another person, to make it sound as sappy as possible.
No, like there is that certain level of camaraderie that develops when you have to rely on another person. I get it.
Yeah. So all of these things just come together to make this adorable, ridiculous, and difficult little game just so endearing and special. And so now I need to convince you that it is one of the best, because I really do believe that this is one of the best games I have played.
Really? Okay.
Yes, because I know that's a really high caliber, obviously. We talk about this every week. But I'm actually not one who's inclined towards co-op games. I don't know if you could tell, but I am definitely more of a single player, story-driven experience type of person. So it takes an extra special game to not only get me to play co-op, but to get me to enjoy playing co-op. Because obviously I will play for other people, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's my cup of tea, you know? Yeah. So this wasn't excruciating for me. Therefore, it is the best game, period. Haha, done.
I guess, like, so, like, what makes this one of the best of all time?
Yes.
Like, so you've convinced me that it's definitely a good game. So what
takes it to that next caliber?
Yeah, like what's the special sauce?
Yeah. So obviously I've been mulling this over in my head. There's a lot of games that are adorable, so I don't think that sets it apart necessarily.
It helps.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely inclined towards adorableness. I mean, yeah, that's pretty obvious. But I really think that the simplicity in the mechanics, yet that ability to build complexity through the simplicity is what makes it a great game. And I'll go into more detail because I know that's very big.
Do you mean like a game with simple mechanics that is still able to be complex?
It's able to challenge your brain in its complexity, if that makes sense. Like, it's a simple game, but it's still able to push your brain to have to decipher complex problems.
Okay.
So,
like Threes.
Yes, kinda. Well,
like
okay. So let me
mechanic that pushes you into more complex problem solving.
Yes, but so let me kind of break the game down a little bit more. So like I said, you have recipes that you need to cook. And those recipes are presented to you through the orders. And I'll just use the example I used before as the burgers, you know. You could be requested to make a very simple burger where you just have a bun and a hamburger. So in order to complete that task, your brain then needs to decipher, okay, I need to grab a plate. I need to grab the bun. I need to chop up the meat, and I need to fry the meat.
Mm-hmm.
Where are these things? What is my partner doing? Yep. What is my partner doing? How do I best create a system where I can not only assist my partner, but we can pull this off in the most efficient way possible? Okay, there's an obstacle in the way. There's a shifting table in the middle that prevents us from consistently having access to the burners. Okay, how do we build this system as efficiently and through our individual play styles? And how do we do that very quickly?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's the problem that this game essentially presents to you every single round, but with different variables. The recipes can get more complicated. The plate mechanic is its own thing where you have to grab a plate for every single meal, right? And you have to place the food on the plate, and then you deliver that to the customer. There have been multiple times where I've tried to put a burger just on the conveyor belt and it disappears because there was no plate. Or there's no plates because no one's washed them because we're so focused on trying to fry this meat, right? So
you gotta fry that meat.
Yep, you gotta fry that meat. So I guess this is kind of a paradox with me where I'm more of a chaotic ADD brain, but I love games where I can sort things and make them efficient. Like, I love RPGs because of that. I have a direct system where I can figure out how I can do things and what I need to be able to do them. So I gravitate towards this game because it forces me to do that in a very short amount of time with the added variable of another person, of all things, who is in the nature of human beings going to be a very, very chaotic variable to deal with. So that might be what makes it special, is that you're forced to rely on figuring out your relationship with that other person in a very quick and succinct manner. So when I play with my partner James, you know, we have obviously our mechanics that make it easy for us to communicate with each other, but at the same time, since we know each other so well, we might be stubborn and try to take the lead, you know? So, and conversely, there might be someone who I don't communicate with as often, but we're able to create a very quick team because we're both just trying to please the other person, you know, and just try to, you know, solve the problem and be efficient. So that human dynamic and human variable added in, like subconsciously, is kind of genius on the part of the developer.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm interested in what you were saying about like ADD brain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that something that how am I trying to
Would
say?
you like me to describe what ADD brain is?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, and I'm not trivializing ADD. I literally have ADD. Like, I have to take Adderall, or at least I've chosen to take Adderall to help manage my ADD symptoms. So, ADD brain is a brain that is likely to be spanned off into multiple directions at one time. And that is attributed to, at least in theory, people with ADD keeping a sense of their survival tactics from hunter phases. So we're always scanning the environment, essentially, for, prey. And in the more modern sense, we are examining the world for information, like right now I can be focusing on this conversation, but still looking at my Chic amiibo and thinking about some variable there and how, that kind of thing. So ADD brain is just kind of scattered, but at the same time very in tuned, or attuned.
Do you suppose that that maybe that sort of brain finds some amount of catharsis in in a game like Overcooked, where like by necessity you have to prioritize one task at a time, but you are also having to do it as quickly as possible while also noting all of the other things you need. And so even though it is kind of this task list or mental task list that you have to keep in mind while you're playing, there are so many different elements that it, like the act of playing Overcooked kind of,
it utilizes my lovely brain.
It's able to encompass your thought processes.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I think I like games that force me to use my, at least more, what's the word for it, I guess, practical and organizy side of my brain, I guess.
Organizy?
Organizy, yep. Because it presents a unique challenge to the way I think, and a game like this just kind of spotlights my strengths. So yeah, I guess that totally makes sense in that I would be drawn to a game that I can be really good at.
Well, and I like that you also highlighted how the game is used as like a communication medium and tool. Like how you play with someone else communicates a lot about your intentions and your relationship with the other person.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's definitely something I think that makes it unique from how you've described it. Or maybe do you think that is something that makes it unique, or is that something that is just inherent in playing games that are cooperative or where you have to work together to achieve a common goal? Like, would you see the same behaviors manifested differently because of like the gameplay mechanics in something like League of Legends, for example?
I think it presents a more level playing field. It's a challenging landscape for most players. There's definitely going to be people who are more attuned to this kind of gameplay, but it's unique. And, someone who's been playing video games for years and years and years isn't going to be explaining to me every single mechanic of what's going on like League of Legends, I guess.
And are there multiple characters that have different skills, or is everyone basically on the same playing field in terms of that?
If I'm remembering correctly, most of the characters have the same gameplay. I think there might be like a subtle difference. Like the character who's in a wheelchair, the raccoon, I think they have a slight difference in their like dash mechanic, but all characters have dash mechanics, so I think it's pretty level, if I'm remembering correctly. So I guess that adds to that. And at least this is the experience I've had playing with other people, you know. We all are thrust into this chaos and we have to figure it out. There's no like, okay, now here's what you do in order to, you know, it doesn't
pander to you.
Yeah, it doesn't talk down to you. You just have to figure it out, and there's multiple ways to figure it out.
Kind of like life.
Whoa. Yeah, and I totally understand that is something that happens in a lot of games. I get that. But at the same time, there's a lot of paths that people can take, like in something like League of Legends. You can be a certain type of player. Meanwhile, this game, it depends on the day, the people you're playing with, and different variables. Like, you not being able to see the TV, you know? That's still a variable that you had to deal with, and it affected your gameplay.
It did.
And
only that. I'm probably very good at that game.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that makes it more not more dynamic than a game like League of Legends, but I think it at least appeals to me because of that dynamicness.
Okay. I'm so tired.
We're almost there.
I'm so tired. I had a point and then it just completely blanked from my brain. So, Overcooked. I guess you've said a lot of what makes it really special to you. And
yeah,
maybe,
and I have a great taste in games, so obviously I'm correct. So
I guess for me, not having as much experience with it, I find it hard to like gauge how I feel about it and form any cohesive critique about it. So this is kind of like an honorable mention, but I'm here. And it's a full episode. So I guess I'll just agree with Naomi. And
that's right, I win. Woo!
It's one of the best games, period. I have a hard time, I think I have a hard time acknowledging party games as best games, period, just because it's hard, kind of like what I talked about briefly on the Mario Party episode. It's hard to split apart how fun and enjoyable a game is from the people you play it with. So, like, if you play it with people you have fun with anyway, it's probably still going to be fun, right? Because it reflects your relationship back at you. So
yeah, and the way I tackle that in my mind is how much is that game able to bring that out, you know? And that's why I kind of brought up the point of playing with people I don't know as much, or that I don't communicate as readily as I do like my life partner. There's obviously a big difference there. And I was still able to have a lot of fun, and it brought out more. It was like a opening a door to be able to communicate with that other person. As cheesy as that sounds.
No, it makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to gauge party games because of that reason, and also because they generally lack compelling narratives, because the goal of a party game is to have a party, like you're playing with multiple people, and generally story isn't the thing valued when a bunch of people get together to enjoy a cooperative activity or a competitive activity. And so like, again, these are just everything that I struggle with when it comes to games that we're trying to highlight throughout the month. So yeah, so you would say that this is one of the best games, period.
I would. I
Okay.
really would. But there are some contrarians out there.
Oh,
so
my
it is
goodness.
time for Contrarian Corner. Whoop, whoop.
Boop, boop.
All right. So this first contrarian's name is Bree Matt, and they wrote this in July of 2017, and they said, "It has potential, but there are some major flaws. The biggest issue is the performance. They targeted 30 FPS, but it chugs along at 15. There are input lag issues too. I go to pick up a plate and end up repeatedly picking it up and putting it down due to input lag. The difficulty curve is too steep. There's no time to master anything or even get used to a new gimmick before they're throwing something else at you in the next level. Maybe the input lag and performance issues messed with their ability to balance the difficulty. Seems likely. If they fix the performance issue, then this is an 8 or a 9. Until then, I can't recommend it, even though I really wanted to like it after looking forward to it for so long." And I have one more from Per Zero, and they wrote this earlier this year in February, and they had to say, "This game sucks. No point at all in anything. Game is only about cooking, which is pointless."
Oh my gosh. They just eat all of their food raw. They just like see a
It's
wild
pointless.
onion and they go for it. They're like, this is good eats. You don't need to cook this.
Yum. Now I'm just picturing like a wild hippie child, which is fantastic. So yeah, I definitely get their, well, the first one's points anyway. I can see how lag would be frustrating in a game where every single second counts, for sure. But yeah, I still really like this game and really enjoy it. It's one of my favorite multiplayer experiences. So I vote yes, and you have to say yes, because this is my show, and I win. So, anyway.
Anyway, as if you didn't 100% mean that evil cackle.
I'm not a witch, I swear.
And on that note, you should follow us on Twitter, where we sometimes put up polls and give your opinion on video games that we talk about. And even if we don't put up a poll, we'd love to hear you tweet at us angrily about how Naomi is wrong, or
also agree with us.
happily about how Naomi is correct. And there's no us with this episode. It's all Naomi. So please head over to @bestgamesperiod on twitter.com. And, while you're on the internets, why not head over to community.extra-life.org, where you can find this very podcast, along with a bunch of other new and interesting articles about games and gaming, all kinds of games, tabletop and video. It's a really great site. I write a lot of the stuff that you'll find there. Naomi occasionally contributes. And, yeah. On that note, if you don't know what Extra Life is, I suggest you head over to extra-life.org, because it's an awesome charity that's part of Children's Miracle Network Hospitals, and it helps sick and injured kids all across the United States and Canada. And when you go over to the website, extra-life.org, you can actually sign up. And when you sign up, you can choose which Children's Miracle Network hospital you want to support. And 100% of everything you raise goes directly to that hospital to help sick and injured kids. It's really, really fantastic. Just a couple years ago, my local hospital was able to put in a therapy pool for kids with cerebral palsy. And the pool is able to modulate how deep the water is, which lets them rehabilitate kids or treat them in a variety of different ways. It's super cool. But check it out. See what you can do with your own local hospital. We also have a Patreon. We just finished recording another unique episode that will go out to our patrons on patreon.com/bestgamesperiod. And if you support us for as little as $1 per month, you can get access to all those sweet patron-specific episodes.
They're fancy.
They're fancy. They're really good. They're smart. We say smart things in them. You might not believe it from listening to us talk on the main show.
I don't blame
you. But we used up, especially with this latest one, we used up all of our mental energy being articulate for that one. And this one, we're tired. We're tired. We're
so
tired.
We're tired millennials.
We've been recording for we've been recording for at least 2 hours and 20 minutes at this point, and we were talking a little bit before that too. So it's been a long session.
Feel bad
today.
for us.
But no, if you support the show, we're really close to being able to cover all of our hosting expenses for the year, and that would be super exciting if we could reach that goal. So head over to patreon.com/bestgamesperiod if you want to support us in that way. And I just pulled my headset
Thingy.
Headset headphones out of my computer. I've put them back, no worries.
Woohoo!
And on that note, we also have an Instagram that you should totally follow at bestgamesperiod. And if Marcus...
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, and if Marcus ever gets me the audio that I need, I'm hoping for the holidays to have up some new Dragon Guard episodes, which would be really, really fun.
Nudge, nudge, Marcus.
Nudge, nudge, indeed. What else? Is there anything else?
We love you all.
Well, yeah,
you're all amazing, and we hope you have a wonderful day or night whenever you're listening to this. Because, hey, it's a podcast. You can put us in your ear whenever you want. Oh, man, that sounded bad.
Did
yeah.
I don't know that people have any connotations with that.
I guess I'm just a horrible person.
You've been on the internet too long.
Yeah, it's the internet's fault. We'll go with that.
On that awkward note, we'll see you next time on the Flippity Dippity.